I've already made one video dedicated to a Tom Hardy character in the form of a character analysis of John Fitzgerald, one of the best villains of the 2010s in my humble opinion, and definitely check out that video if you've seen The Revenant before. And as much as I adore that character, my very favorite performance of Tom Hardy comes in the film Locke. Locke is a very strange film. Apart from the opening scene, the entire movie takes place inside of a BMW X5, and the setting essentially makes Locke a one-man play with Tom Hardy at the lead. The handful of other characters we get to know are only heard through his car's speakerphone, and if you haven't seen the film already, definitely go watch it and come back here. It's only an 80-minute film and it feels like a lot less, believe me. At its core, Locke is a film about a man named Ivan maneuvering through the most consequential night of his entire life. He's an extremely competent construction manager who abandons his management responsibilities to witness the birth of his child, who is a product of an affair with a woman named Bethan. And Bethan goes into labor a couple months early and forces Ivan into an unsolvable situation. What is so unique about Locke is that the most important decision of the entire movie happens in the first 2 minutes. Ivan decides to abandon a massive cement delivery that he's in charge of, and he also decides to reveal the truth to his wife so he can be there for the child he's responsible for. And the remainder of the movie is just Ivan dealing with the consequences of this choice. We learn why Ivan makes this choice through a number of almost Shakespearean monologues from Ivan that are aimed at his dead father. We learn that his own father did not own up to his fatherly responsibilities, and the hatred, I mean deep hatred, Ivan shows for his father in these monologues is extremely powerful, some of Tom Hardy's best scenes as an actor.
What is it they say? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Well, that's where you're wrong. Listen to me, you fucking piece of worthless shit. I want you to watch. Do you know, in fact, I would like to take a fucking shovel and dig you up out of the fucking ground and make you watch me tonight.
So what wisdom can we find from this decision in the film in general? The place to start looking is at the beginning of Ivan's drive, and in truth, the drive really began when he decided to break his marital vows and cheat on his wife Katrina. His motives are debatable. He claims that he slept with Bethan out of some sort of drunken pity, and since he relies on the truth to guide him through the rest of the night, I actually do believe this. It is clear through his interactions with his children that he is adored by his family, he cares about them a lot, and through his interactions with Bethan as well, and his refusal to lie to her and say I love you, we see that this is a decent man who just happened to slip up. Now with that said, there is no doubt that Ivan should have told the truth to his wife long before he did. Bethan is likely 5 to 6 months into her pregnancy, and keeping the truth from his wife for that long must have required quite the performance every time they were around each other. Despite his betrayal, Ivan Locke is still one of the most admirable men to ever be portrayed in film, and as I mentioned before, Bethan goes into labor very early, which gives Ivan no time to prepare for the tsunami coming his way, but instead of using lies to delay or diminish the impact of his mistakes, he decides to stand firm and take it. In regards to his job, Ivan knows he's leaving his people in a very unfair position. The specific delivery is the biggest of his entire career, the biggest for his company, and he's just leaving them on the spot. And his boss berates him for this, understandably, and Ivan is eventually fired by the corporate leaders for his decision. If Bethan went into labor 24 hours later, he would have kept his job, and it was terrible luck, but Ivan doesn't wallow in self-pity. Instead of arguing with his boss and reminding him of all the good years of service he's put in, Ivan completely understands the decision and still wants to do his best to make sure the delivery goes smoothly. In fact, when his boss mentions his 10 years of good service, Ivan actually corrects him, saying he's only been there for 9 years. He has the option to leave the job to somebody else and avoid dealing with his idiotic coworker who gets drunk on the job, but he chooses the hard road. He sees the delivery as his personal responsibility, a responsibility that, like his incoming child, cannot be abandoned. The most difficult challenge of Ivan's night is breaking the news to his wife, and after her tears go dry, she makes the same decision that Ivan's boss has made. She tells him that his mistake cannot be forgiven and their marriage is done. When Ivan steps into his car at the beginning of the night, he has a wife and he has a job. He loses both, but it doesn't really matter. What really matters was that he told the truth, not only to his wife and to Bethan, but to himself. Ivan had to hear his wife sob her eyes out. He had to hear the dismayed crack in his son's voice when he realized something was wrong. He had to endure all those terrible things because he chose the path of truth. At one point or another, we're all going to be put in a similar position. Most children will take the expedient route to avoid punishment. I remember as a child lying about a multitude of things to avoid consequences. But the older we get, the more difficult these decisions become. The stakes get bigger, and for Ivan, they were as big as they can possibly be. I would say there's now a tendency in the Western world to take the expedient route in these positions, and there's the obvious argument that lies make most situations worse, which is definitely true, but also there are scenarios where lies can actually achieve a desirable result. So the question becomes, what is your goal in life? Is it to avoid as much suffering as possible, or is it to do what's right, if you believe in right and wrong? For Ivan Locke, he decided that it'd be better to suffer for the truth than prosper under a lie. And I personally think he made the correct decision. His child will now have a father and will be raised to follow his father's principles, which I think are very strong. It's always going to be easier to say that you're going to live up to a certain moral standard. For me, I'd love to say that if I was in Ivan Locke's position, I would handle the situation in a similar fashion, but until you're in that situation, it's impossible to truly know. The temptation to avoid accepting consequences when you can lie to avoid them is as strong as any. But with that said, if there's anything worth suffering for, it'd be the truth. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you got something out of it. Locke really is an amazing film. I wish we got more movies that felt as real and personal. There's only a handful every year. But thanks for watching again. Have a great rest of your day, and hopefully I will talk to you soon. Have a good one.